There, right, hello. As you can see, this video is going to be very unprofessional because honestly, I've never done a YouTube review before. I've only done Arsenal football match reviews, and honestly, it's about time that maybe I did a review for Wallace and Gromit because I'm so obsessed with it, being a fan of it my entire life, and the anticipation for the last 2 years since 2022 of the announcement saying that there was going to be a new Wallace and Gromit film but had an untitled name for 2 years. We didn't hear much until 2024, but it's just been a long time, honestly. It just feels like it's just been waiting ages and ages. And since 2008, the last Wallace and Gromit, the majority of my life I've been waiting for this. So to actually being able to watch it and watch it again and again and again and again. I've watched it 6 times now, so I'm a little bit invested into it. But I've watched it on the 19th of December. I watched it in cinemas, and then I watched it on Christmas Day, and I've watched it 4 times on the iPlayer since. Personally, I prefer the home experience of it. In the cinema, it didn't feel like a cinematic film. Of course, the film's fantastic, I love it, but it just didn't feel like the Were Rabbit side of things where it suited the cinema. So it may have just been a poor cinema. It's a showcase in Peterborough, but either way, it didn't feel the same as at home. I preferred it. But basically, this is going to be a review. I've got Notepad with things to remind me what to talk about. I'm not going to do any editing or cut things. It's just simply me talking in front of a camera. It's very authentic. But I've just wrote down notes of things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about good things and bad things. So personally, I think there's a lot to love about this Wallace and Gromit film, and I do love a lot of it. But I do have some nitpicks too, and some slight issues, which I have seen other people speak about as well. And I do think those ideas are valid. So I'll talk about them briefly between things, but maybe more some detail later on. But I may stop and read just my notes at times because I'm not going to manage. I don't know how long this video is going to be. It could be 30 minutes, it could be 50 minutes. But I just want to check that there's other things going on. Yeah, so mainly what I wanted to do anyway is, so with the review itself, there'd be good ideas and the bad ideas. So initially I'll start with something that I absolutely loved amongst the film and something I didn't like so much. So for example, I will say that I love the animation, but for example, the story may be lacking, and then build off of that. But there's more good than bad, so we'll get through the bad quickly, finish on a good note. And then there's like I did some predictions before of the film, like what I thought was going to happen, and to be honest, actually none of it happened. I think none of it happened what I anticipated. So Wallace and Gromit films are hard to anticipate. Of course, there's only 6 of them, but when you actually look at the stories amongst them, they're very unpredictable. I mean, who for the hell's sake in the wrong trousers thought they're going to go into a train chase at the end? So there's stuff like that, but really, the anticipation for this film is just, I can't believe this came out. It's phenomenal. I'm overall super happy with it. It's lovely. But yeah, I'm going to just start off. I was thinking that I was going to go scene by scene and, judge each scene and rate it. And sorry, I should say spoilers. There's going to be a lot of spoilers because I'm going to talk about individual things that happen in the film and I'm going to describe them. And that's not the best idea if you've not watched yet. And also, I won't play any clips either, so maybe that might be a leeway. So by leeway, I mean like you're okay with that or something. I don't know. And also there'll be a lot of verbal mistakes during this because I'm not used to this, obviously. But yeah, first thing I want to speak out is the return of Feathers McGraw, where 31 years it's been since The Wrong Trousers. And when you think it's been 31 years since then, and we've had no appearances or no serious appearances of him since then. I know he's been in Flushed Away briefly, been in Early Man, he's been in Even Close Shave, like just little cameo things, like, still him, it's just been a little bit pointless. His main role actually has been in Wallace and Gromit Project Zoo, the video game, which came out I think in 2003 or 2002. And I've seen there's a lot of familiarities with that game and the film, with the whole zoo setting. So quite interesting to think that if Nick Parr's got any further in further imagination of the zoo and stuff like that and what he was plotting. And he was after the diamond in that one as well. So, excuse me, I have got a bit of a sore throat, so I shouldn't be drinking orange juice, probably just some water. But yeah, 31 years, and they nailed Feathers McGraw, honestly. Like, when you look at 31 years ago and what they had to, I mean, it's like I've seen in multiple interviews, they describe them as minimal, the minimal little movements and stuff like that, and you can see that now they've done it in more like this. Of course, it's more modernised a little bit, Wallace and Gromit now, and trying to keep it more lacking, if that makes sense. Like, there's more ideas to do a load of other things probably, because the whole stop motion thing's evolved, but they have to keep him so minimal, and they do it so well. You can see that little things they've tweaked a little bit. He was a little bit more expressive for me personally, especially during the setting where he said cheese and bumped his head. But stuff like that is, I'm really happy with Feathers McGraw. Personally, I thought that was wonderful, and my favourite scenes with him were the prison scenes itself, where he felt more individual, more plotting. Like, I love the thing where they used the tin can to use the reflection. Great little detail. And then of course the inventing things from the litter picking. I mean, it's just, you know, the litter picking makes sense. It just really come together nicely. They really built Feathers McGraw up to be more intelligent in this one, rather than more as an actual threat. For example, in The Wrong Trousers, he straight up tried to murder Gromit about 3 times, if I'm correct. Got 3 headshots on him, on the lamp. But you think of that, he was more aggressive, but he does have that aggression a little bit. Like, he tried to harm Gromit twice with the canal boats. The canal boat, and I forgot the name of the lion. There is a name for it. I was supposed to memorise it, but of course I forgot. But with the lion as well, trying to put him into his cage. And you can see that he is trying those sinister things, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's as connected as The Wrong Trousers, if that makes sense. Like, you can see the gun shoot, and it's straight after. It was rather just like more chains to it, if that makes sense, with the canal boat. Then it drops slowly, then it's dropping, and then drops, if that makes sense what I'm saying. But yeah, I'd say Feathers didn't feel as evil, but he was still evil in like an intelligent way, which I liked a lot, because they found some good ideas for him to be intelligent. And I felt like during the entire film as well, Feathers, he was always one step ahead of the Wallace and Gromit, or even the police. I'm trying to think now of the police. I guess you could say the police, really, with the museum thing. So he was always like one step ahead, and actually in the end he did kind of get a victory from it all, because of course he got away, which was probably more important than the diamond. So yeah, if we're going to look at it that way anyway. So yeah, let's go. So that's one good thing I'd say. Feathers McGraw just felt really fleshed out, great character. I liked it. A bad thing I didn't like too much about it is, this could not be seen as bad, but Macintosh changed character a little bit for me. Now, he is visibly changed with the older moustache, and now I don't know if they used that to actually try and change his personality a little bit, because he come across a little bit more, I've been saying he's been doing that for all his life, his job, himself, and he became more egotistical, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, if I'm being honest. It didn't feel like the same Macintosh as before. But I gotta say, Macintosh's jokes did deliver. Like the turnip part was brilliant. Like, that's a flipping turnip. I like that a lot. And even with the Wallace and Gromit, Norbert coming out on the swivel chair, ramming the door down, and they're going, "Did we get them?" Just small deliveries like that. Peter Kay does fantastic. But it felt like a little bit of a different character for me now. More highly esteemed of himself and a bit more egotistical. It felt a bit different for me. It kind of struck me. It did. So I'd say I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but it's just something that struck me, I would say, really. So let's go back to something that's good. Right, this is going to sound like a hot take, this is, and feel free to disagree. You've got Were Rabbit. Of course, you've got The Wrong Trousers back in 1993, but was super ambitious. But this is probably the most ambitious Wallace and Gromit, yeah. Which people will disagree with, I think, really. But the amount of sets, like when you start thinking through the amount of sets and scenery produced in this, for an hour and 15 minutes. It's phenomenal. I can, pardon me. Like, you've got West Wallaby Street, you've got the museum, you've got the police station, you've got the canal boat scene, you've got the zoos, you've got the imprisonment itself, you've got outside the zoos, you've got the streets, outside the zoo, the streets, you've got the garden. What else you've got? Am I missing something here? Feel like it. Anyway, but you've got all these things themselves, and it just feels very ambitious set wise. Like, I mean, you could actually split the canal boat stuff. Like, you've got the canal where it starts and it's docked, and then you've got the aqueduct. And honestly, that is like one of the most cinematic things I've ever seen in filmography, because I look at it and I can't pinpoint whenever that's been done before, something like that with an aqueduct. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a film fanatic or anything, but it just feels super unique to me. And I know I've been to the Pontiliac, if that's how you say it anyway. I've heard about 5 different ways to say this now. Aqueduct, and I can't really comprehend how they actually filmed that itself and made it so well done. It's really impressive. So it feels like a really ambitious project, and it's delivered. Similar to The Wrong Trousers, but it was ambitious with the train chase. But this feels like, I mean, the thing is with The Wrong Trousers, it was ambitious mainly in the train chase. But I was like, well, how are we going to make this? They were saying, and with the whole motion blur and stuff like that. And then you look at, that was just like a single fast-paced sequence towards the end, because The Wrong Trousers is a slow burner, builds up and up. And with this one, it was a bit more fast-paced generally, and with it, I would say, but it's just more the cinematic side of it, and the sets is just lovely and more ambitious than ever. So really happy with that. I mean, when I watch it, I've watched it just now anyway, and it's just like, you notice these small little details that are so different, and not so different, but just different, and you don't expect it, and then you're so happy with the result. So yeah, really, really ambitious for me personally. Back to a bad thing. I'm not using the word bad, but that's my choice of words. So I can't see because the flash on the phone, man, honestly. Okay, no, I think this is a valid bad point. And I was thinking about this because Wallace and Gromit haven't featured in 16 years, and for 16 years people aren't going to be familiar with these characters anymore, especially worldwide, not just United Kingdom. But you know, when you think that, say if a child was born in 2009, that's 15 years old now, probably has no idea what Wallace and Gromit is. And God, I was 6 years old watching The Wrong Trousers on repeat, and so people aren't familiar with these characters as much now, and that brings me to the point of Wallace and Gromit's relationship during the film. To me, I get their relationship. They're best pals. They're, you know, whatever you want to say they are. I've heard people say that Gromit's the female, Wallace is the male, that type of stuff. But let's just say they're best pals and they care about each other. I don't know if new audiences would get that from the new film alone. And why I say that is because there's a lot of Gromit eyebrows. There's a lot of Wallace disregarding Gromit straight away in the beginning, and there's not enough like joint pleasure, if that makes sense, or joint time together in the beginning of the film. When you go back to A Grand Day Out, where they basically spent the entire time together, which set their relationship. And then you have The Wrong Trousers as the breakfast scene, and the scene with the knitting and stuff like that. Is there anything else I'm missing from that? But even, it's just again, cliche breakfast scene, something just joined together. And I don't think we saw that as much with Vengeance Most Fowl, because yeah, we had the breakfast scene, but it felt more like Gromit just sick of Wallace. Like, and yeah, that's a common theme, that is, but it felt like to actually set the relationship again, it wasn't the right direction. And what that interprets further is that the ending maybe won't be as good for new audiences. I could be completely wrong about this. I'm happy to be wrong, because, you know, I want it to be successful with the film. But for me, it's just something where we didn't see Wallace and Gromit engage enough together in the beginning, because even Gromit goes after the Norberts alone and disregards Wallace's words. Wallace doesn't listen to Gromit, which is again a common theme, but it just doesn't feel like the relationship was built enough. So that's my interpretation of it. Feel free to disagree, but I'm just thinking of a first-time viewer to Wallace and Gromit. Okay, back to the good things. Let's go with, of course, the animation is wonderful. I don't even know why I wrote that down. That's the most obvious thing going. I've even put here Gromit is Gromit, which Gromit is Gromit is fantastic. They've done everything right within the game, especially the eyebrow expressions, the heroic side of it. It's very impressive. Let's talk about Norbot. Norbot, new character, AI tech, which quite a bold direction, I want to say, considering that everyone's doing at the moment, but felt good. I was really happy with Norbot. I thought going into the film, is this guy going to agitate me? Is he going to do me up the wall? Like, is he just going to keep going on and on with his voice? And I didn't feel agitated about him, and that's because I think they limited his lines in a way. What I mean by that is he repeated what Wallace said, like, yes, Mr. Wallace, or what did he say at the end? He copied him exactly. But regardless, he copied him, and he had very short lines and then repeatable lines, like neat and tidy. But I thought they was done very well. Kind of a lovable character again in the Wallace and Gromit universe, so props to that. I thought Reese Shearsmith did a good job voicing him, very good job, very happy with it. Just surprised me a bit more, but actually I thought, going into that, I thought he might annoy me a little bit, because certain voices and certain things can agitate me a little bit. For example, in Del Toro's Pinocchio himself, his voice strains my ears a little bit. And he's the main character of it, obviously, and he says so many different lines and different ups and downs, if that makes sense. And with Norbot, I thought it was going to be like that, but no. So thankfully, I'd say it was the surprise pick for me, Norbot, so fair enough. I've only got like two things bad left, which is one is a bit extensive, honestly, and I think it's valid. Speak about Ron Seal. The pun to do with Ron Seal, English, can't remember the name of it, some DIY thing, I can't remember the name of it now. Everyone knows Ron Seal in England, but yeah. Seal is called Ron Seal, and honestly, literally a tiny appearance, barely in it, but lovable, probably will be used in the future in so many different ways for whatever merchandise maybe, but cute, great, feathers, wonderful. So I need a drink, badly I do. Should probably have a lemon sip, not orange juice, but my choices. Now, something I was very happy with is Wallace's character has changed a little bit as well. What I mean by that is, I think, not in Were Rabbit, Wallace became like this, but I think in A Matter of Life and Death, Wallace became a bit too stupid for me. He became more of a comic relief character, and I didn't really like that. It became too much, because he just didn't feel like he was as smart as he was in that film, mainly because they didn't really invent in that film. So maybe that strayed away from it a little bit, but it just felt too comic relief for me and too silly. Like, I always just think of, like, when I'm thinking of that, is like Wallace falling onto the bed from the windmill and then going up and going, yay, or something like that, or yay, or I don't know. It just felt like it didn't feel like Wallace. That's it. So this film made him smart again. Of course, he's not super smart, or not clever, shall we say, because he's easily naive, and but there's points where you can see him catching on, where you kind of respect it a little bit more, when the Norbot army walked up the stairs, and He's like unsure, like what the hell's going on here, and you see that a little bit, and you go, ah, okay. So it just felt more genuinely believable. So I'm happy with that. They've gone back like to Wallace being a bit smarter. In Matter of Life or Death, the last one was a bit weird, and that brings me to Ben Whitehead and his performance taken over from Peter Sallis. Great, absolutely fantastic, well done. Everything appraisal wise, like in a way, I don't want to say I prefer Ben because it feels cruel saying that, but Ben has a different way of being with Wallace, and I like it more. I think I like it more. Just there's so many little things where the quote at the end, near the end of the film, when he's got the forgetting words of things, tube the savior thing, like Gromit throws him the savior thing, and he is in the middle of it. God, what is it? Ring, safety ring. God, lifeguard ring. All right, you're not going to listen to me try and name something, but mainly with that, it's just like his performance. Then when he went, Gromit, don't let him get away. It's just some stuff like I just got little quotes in my head already, like from him from this film, and it only came out like Christmas Day, and it feels like I've already got his voice in my head now, and it's stuck. Like when he said "Vengeance, Most Fowl," it really delivered. So good, so good. Super impressed. Macintosh when he says, "Look, sunshine, I've got no time for your games," and he goes, "Hey," just something small like that. Like doesn't have to say a lot. Just a funny way of saying something, very Wallace-like. Ben, fantastic. Honestly, I don't think they could have found a better person to play Wallace. I really don't, honestly. And not a hard character, not an easy character to take over from, honestly, because when you think, his voice is very unique, Peter Sallis's was, and in Wallace and Gromit, the detail is very much the most important thing, and if you had a different voice, it would put a lot of people off, honestly. So really, as a massive Wallace and Gromit, I just want to say really grateful for Ben and his work. So thank you. Let's go on to the teapot as bad. So how do I start with this? I'm going to go with what is good and bad about the teapot, because I think there's a point where the teapot sequence is good, but it just goes bad. And it's all good throughout. When it gets to the museum and they realise that there's a turnip inside, and that's all changed in that. It's good. It holds. It does. Of course, you don't recognise this in the first time doing it, but when they do the flashback with Feathers sitting there tied up, staring at the turnip, the diamond, and the sack, and then they just go back to the present. It don't work. Sorry. I get what they were trying to do, because they said during that scene, but he's a slippery one, implying that he slipped out of the ropes and swapped the diamond with the turnip and put that in there. But for me, it doesn't work. Wallace and Gromit's charm is that everything you see is real in terms of the clay, and pardon me, everything is real, what you see. So with clay, all the clay is actually real and stuff like that, plasticine. And with this, they're showing you something that you have to use your imagination for, which they've never done before. And it's done. I don't mind that, but it's not even a little bit believable, because if he did get out of the ropes, then why would he get back in the ropes? So, I mean, the only thing I can think of is he swapped them and then got caught again, and they put him back in the ropes. That's it. But it's just something that they try to use the viewer's imagination and directing them. But I don't know if they found a way to make that believable. If they did, the scene itself, if that makes sense. So teapot didn't work for me. I'm sorry. And you could even say with the teapot part where Wallace is trying to make the teapot work, and he goes, "It's broken," and he's pressing the top, and it's don't want to say Wallace is that stupid, but you know, it's a cartoon show. We have to appreciate that cartoon, whatever, claymation. But yeah, that part just wasn't for me. I'm sorry, the teapot didn't work for me, and a little disappointed with that bit because again, I like the idea because it makes Feathers look super intelligent, but he's managed to swap these things around. If he managed to, I mean, they should have maybe done something where he hid it inside the house or something. Not the teapot, but the diamond. But I do like that they tried that perspective because again, it elevated Feathers into a more intelligent villain, which they portrayed him correctly. So yeah, it's just it rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. So teapot, not for me storyline wise, and people may disagree, but that's fine. You're welcome to disagree. If you do disagree, you're welcome to say. But we're going to go on to as well something that was good, the final chase sequence, and very different compared to Wrong Trousers, Close Shave, Curse of the Were Rabbit. Very different to them. They're very fast paced at the end. With this one, it felt a little bit more A Matter of Life and Death, slow paced and more just slow, fast, and that's fine. I didn't have a problem with that whatsoever. Anything, it's very cinematic. The ending it is. I really like the Nun in the Tunnel part. I thought that's fantastic. And the more I watched that, the more I appreciate it. Because the first time I watched it, I went, "What's happening there?" But when you watch the little, there's only like 3 parts in the Nun in the Tunnel where they're confronting, and it's really cool. I really like that, and I really like the nun disguise as well. Something I would have never thought of going into it, or even ever thought of Feathers looking like. I did think of him as a bowling pin before, so yeah, but not as a nun. No, that's a good one. That is. But final chase, very happy with it. Also, that touches me on Wallace and Gromit's relationship as well. In the beginning, for the first time viewers, they may not get the relationship as well, but actually at the end, it might be more solidified. So, for example, after watching the film for the first time, they might get the connection a little bit more, if that makes sense. But for the first time viewing it, they may not get it. That's new viewers of Wallace and Gromit. But very happy with final chase sequence. Only thing I would make a little bit different was, or comment on, that was maybe the Norbots could have been more involved. They were throwing plant pots, but they're Norbots. I've seen them one have a flamethrower come out of his arm, so could have touched on a bit more potential there, but you know, I don't mind. I got baited very hard as well. So this is one of my predictions. I got baited very hard with the trailers. I expected a little. All right, I'm going to use that word expected because that's what I did think. I expected a full-blown train chase because the train track was seen in the trailers, the steam and feathers on it as well. So I expected that, and it didn't happen. I was like, oh, thanks. The first time I viewed it, I was like, oh, we're missing something. It's like, you know, we're missing something. Like I felt like it because I felt like I was missing something. And when I watched it the second time, I went, nah, that's fine. You know, there's no problems with it. But I did expect that in a way, and you know, I felt a little bit disappointed. But that's my own fault. That's nothing to do with the film. That's my own problem. That is by expecting something that shouldn't expect anyway. So yeah. So we ticked that off. Matt Monroe playing Born Free, Feathers in the van, Wallace's van. Cinematic, love that. It was only the second humanoid song. That's the right word, humanoid. Human song in Wallace and Gromit history, and it's just the right song for it. And Matt Monroe has a lot of relation to me myself, not blood relation, but in terms of personal life and my relationships. So touched me a little bit there. Don't want to describe that though. Moving on swiftly. I like as well, but most of the film takes place in West Wallaby House, um, 62 West Wallaby Street. Very happy with that. It feels like it's was missing a little bit, or maybe not missing, because I know that Matter of Loaf did as well, but it felt like it was just completely changed in Matter of Loaf and Death. It didn't feel like 62 West Wallaby Street, whereas this felt very comfy, warm, old fashioned, so it felt very good that it was back to that way. And Wallace playing the piano as well was just perfect, playing the theme as well. And one of my major positives as well, which I'm so relieved about, honestly, is because they're going back to the roots of Wallace himself. And I spoke about Wallace character, fair enough, but no romance. Thank you, just thank you. I don't think I could have done 4 romances in a row with Wallace and Gromit, Close Shave, Were Rabbit, and A Matter of Life or Death. Very happy that it was they got rid of that part of it, and it just felt like they're just more the characters themselves, if that makes sense. So very happy romance is gone. I like that they put the inventor part a bit higher on Wallace, like, you know, made that more important. So thumbs up. Just no romance, and you can tell, but I don't like chick flicks and stuff like that. So yeah. Right. OST, the soundtrack, score, Lornie Balfe and Julian Knott. Love it. I love it. And I listened to the soundtrack before I watched the film, which I shouldn't have done, but I couldn't. My anticipation was too high. But I absolutely loved the general soundtrack of it. It was like a return, if that makes sense, like a powerful return, especially the credits theme for me, which felt like just a celebration of these characters and the world, and of Nick Park and everything. It all felt like a celebration. So very happy with that. Very happy with the individual songs as well. Reprogram for Revenge, when Feathers is doing it, fantastic. When Feathers, I don't call him Penguin anymore, Feathers, when he was doing his return in the beginning, and it had like his own theme, brilliant, loved it. Loved A Crazed Inventor, which is one of the songs in it as well, where Wallace is going crazy, and it felt crazy. Yeah, I'm really happy with the score of it. Felt like Wallace and Gromit, modernised Wallace and Gromit, perfect. Very, very happy with it. One of my last points I didn't like, might get some criticism for this. PC Mukherjee just doesn't fit in the world for me personally, and I think it's her voice more. Like, her voice feels very different to Macintosh, Wallace, or any of the other characters in the show. It just felt very different for me how her voice did, but it didn't fit. I thought the character fitted herself. Like, I felt like we needed someone like that, the enthusiastic police officer, considering that Macintosh was just kind of like, you know, no evidence, a bit more moany, groany, old. So the character was right, but the voice, for me, it didn't fit. But, you know, what do I know? So it just didn't hit with me, and after watching it 6 times, it still doesn't. So sorry, I know that's Lauren Patel's role. Sorry. And yeah, let's talk about my favorite. I'll talk about my favorite things. I will now. So my favorite scenes. Feathers is of course the star of the film for me personally in terms of the scenes. Wasn't in it super loads, but I feel like everything he was in or shown, he stole it. He's pure comedy, pure comedy, but enough for the threat factor as well, which is good. But my favourite scene is when he's reprogramming the Norbot himself and using the device to come over and making it. Felt really, really unique. It did for a penguin to be doing that, and that's what we want to see, obviously. So very happy with that, and I love the music that goes over it as well. Sorry, my throat is playing out. Favourite quote from the film is actually either Flippin' Turnip by That's a Flippin' Turnip. Vengeance Most Fowl, when Wallace says that. Wallace just saying hey. Then the woman, the old woman, when Wallace opens the door and she says, I wrote it down because it's quite a mouthful. Nasty, crooked, nasty, crooked, God, I can't remember writing now. Thieving little toad hag. Nasty, crooked, thieving little toad hag. It's the delivery of that line is brilliant. Like, it's the only thing that character says. Those 5 words or something, and it's just the most aggressive, beautiful sentence I've ever read. So I love that. I do. What else? Favourite scene wise? Love the scene of them on the swivel chair, and then Norbot stops it and goes, "Not like that." Canal boat, obviously. So much to love, honestly. I think I've used the word honestly quite a lot during this review, so I do apologise if you're sick of hearing that word. Let's say my predictions for it originally. So I thought there was going to be a train chase. Didn't happen. I thought Feathers McGraw was going to use his gun. He didn't use his gun, which I thought they would use something else. Pardon me. Dang. I thought he'd use something else, but he didn't in the end. And sorry, can't say it's going to be most of the video me coughing from now. He didn't use his gun in the end, and I thought there was going to be something else with him, but didn't. But it was fine, honestly. So, third one, I thought Preston was going to come back because it said in the poster, new friends, old villains, villains being plural. So I expected Preston to be back in some way, and then one of the songs was The Fast and the Furnished, and when I was listening to it, it just sounded like a part where Preston would return in. I was like, that's got to be Preston. But then I was like, well, how is this not leaked in some way already? But no, obviously he didn't return. What other predictions do I have? I didn't think Fluffles would come back. I didn't think Sean would come back. And to be honest, I didn't think a lot of the old cast would come back at all because Feathers was like, enough. We've got Macintosh. Was like, I'm not going to do anything more than that, surely. And it's quite funny to see the farmer as well, just in a small cameo. I like that in a way. It's cool. And he just says mumbo jumbo as well too. So, but predictions wise, that was really about it for me. I thought the Norbots would be a little bit more menacing. By that, I thought when they showed a scene of Norbot going up to the plans of Norbot and then using the tools to make the Norbots, like its own gizmos or whatever, I thought they would maybe be used later on as a threat, if that makes sense, to Wallace and Gromit or someone else like more aggressive, but we don't get into that design. I also thought as well, where, you know, in the trailer, the main trailer was released, and you see the settings come down where he's boorish, slightly dull, stuff like that. I thought we might see another setting used, so not just good and evil, but something where Norbot is used alternatively in a different manner. But no, I didn't see that, but that's fine. There might be something in the future. You never know, there might be a series of mini shorts like cracking contraptions come back, because there's a possibility for stuff like that, especially the Feathers is loose as well now. So yeah, really I think it's absolutely fantastic, the film. I know I've said some negative things there as well, but you know, I see things sometimes and sometimes I have to question it and say it, but overall I think it's a fantastic Wallace and Gromit film. I don't think they could have done much better, honestly. I really don't. It's just wonderful to see the reception as well after, see them featuring Strictly, Traitors, being the Battersea Power Station, a lot more online online social stuff. It's great to see. So ranking wise, it'd get a 10 out of 10 for me. Yeah, 9.5 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Just because I'm biased, obviously. Yeah, and ranking wise, it's not ahead of the Wrong Trousers. Nothing is, honestly. Wrong Trousers is the best piece of media that's ever released ever. If that's controversial, then I don't know. I don't think it should be, but I think it's the best media ever produced, Wrong Trousers. And I think Were Rabbit is ahead of it. So I'd put Vengeance Most Fowl in third place. And if you're curious, I would put a close... No, I wouldn't. I'd put a Grand Day Out fourth, Close Shave fifth, and Matter of Loaf and Death sixth. But again, they're all fantastic. They are. There's not a single bad Wallace and Gromit, and fingers crossed there never will be. But very, very satisfied and very happy that, you know, the build up of 2 years, over almost 3 years, knowing that this was going to release in early 2022. But we're here. I've managed to survive that long to actually see it. So yeah, it's been something, as honestly. So hopefully we're here. Might be more Wallace and Gromit, but to be honest, I'm not expecting something to come out in the next 2 years or anything, and I wouldn't recommend other people not to think that, and just try and think the longest time away, because, you know, they're not done with these characters. I think you can tell that by the ending with Feathers McGraw escaping, but they probably have something leading up to it. But yeah, that there'll probably be more, but I think in 10 years, that's what I'm saying in my head, 10 years now, because it was a 3-year gap between Were Rabbit and Matter of Life and Death for a 30-minute short, and Matter of Life and Death was a little bit of a quality down. Pacing was rushing it needed to be 10 minutes longer. Also, I've seen a lot of people saying about this film as well that it's too long. I disagree. I think the time is just right for it, honestly. It needed to breathe at parts, and I think it did breathe, the film as well. I don't want rushed. I like the short format, but it sometimes feels a little bit rushed. So very happy that was the length it was. So yeah. Anything else that I've missed? Yeah, that's just my Gromit plush backpack with the raincoat. But yeah, he's a bit warm. He's just been on the radio. I didn't realise that. Hope he hasn't burnt or anything. But yeah, probably get loads more plush stuff and memorabilia and all that stuff that I don't really need and don't need around the house. But yeah, that is pretty much a wrap for me on that. And again, I've never done anything like this, so if you have watched, thank you for watching.